Hey everyone, it's Daniel with Absolute Home Services again. We're on day 2. We prepped all this. We did the scraping and sanding. Make sure to check out that video and we'll show you all the prep work. Today we've got a sprayer going, a Graco sprayer. We're going to be spraying out some primer on these bare spots. I've got the sprayer in a bucket of water right now. I usually just run some clean water through it, prime it up, and then we're going to be putting it into the primer. So I'll show you how to set up a sprayer. Okay, so as I mentioned, we have this in just a clean bucket of water here. This is your inlet hose. It always has a screen on it. You want to make sure that this screen is always on it. If not, you're going to suck up things. Could be anything, any chunks in the paint or anything like that could get sucked into the system. And that's a big no-no. It's going to clog up your system and you're going to have to get in there and clean it or send it to a specialist to take it apart and clean it. So this inlet hose here goes right into the paint. This is primer here, so we're going right into the paint. This is your primer hose. Okay, so everything, this is a completely airless system. So you don't want any air inside the system or else it's not gonna work. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn this on. It's gonna make some noise and this is gonna prime it up here, so. Okay, as you can see, the water came out. As soon as you see some color coming out of that priming hose, you want to stop, and then we're going to just prime it again into the bucket and make sure that just primer's coming out of it. Perfect. So now we have primer in, and this is our hose and our gun. So this is a 25-foot hose, and right now it's just full of water from setting it up. So right now I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to spray it into the bucket. Okay, once again, we want to get all the air and all the other paint or anything that's in this hose out of it. So we're going to spray it until we see primer coming out, and then we'll be able to just spray it in here. Make sure that just the primer's coming out. Okay, so now that we've got all this set up here, just primer's coming out of here. So this is completely airless, completely full of just primer. Grab my shield. So this is a spray shield that we use, 24-inch spray shield. This just can go underneath any kind of pieces of wood, so you're not getting it on the ground or anything. You're going to spray it right onto the shield. We also put tarps down. Always tarp up. Always make sure your drop sheets are down. We don't want any paint on anything else but the wall. So now we're all set up here. We've got some bare wood. All this bare wood needs to be primed before we can put 2 coats of finished paint on. So what we're going to do is you want about 6 to 8 inches away from the wall, and we're just going to go a nice light, even coat. That's our first little base coat. Now, this is gonna soak in a lot because bare wood just soaks in the paint and the primer, and that's really the key to why we're priming this first. We need to prime bare wood first so we can seal it, or else the paint doesn't really stick into the wood. So we really want to seal that, get the paint to get the primer in there to seal the wood, and then the paint really protects it. That 2 coats really adds the protection from water, sun, wind, everything up here in Muskoka. All right, so we finished that side. We're gonna move on to this side. We're gonna work on just this vertical siding for now. I'm gonna leave the horizontal just for now, this section. We haven't covered up these windows yet. We've taped up and plasticed up all these windows with spraying. You get what's called overspray, and the overspray is just the fine dust that comes out of the gun when you're spraying. So that stuff really sticks on everything. So we want to make sure that when we're spraying, we cover up everything. Everything's totally covered up. If there's any vehicles around, we got to move those out of the way. But for now, we're pretty much open, and it's a great day for it because there's not a lot of wind. If you're working on a day where there's a ton of wind, it's going to take this stuff for kilometers, and yeah, it really sticks to everything. So we want to make sure we cover up everything. We want to make sure that we're watching what we're spraying and leave a clean site. If you're working with a water-based paint, then soap and water is going to be your best friend to get anything, just a cloth, you can wipe it off. If you're working with something like an alkyd or an oil-based, you're going to need some kind of mineral spirit. You're going to need Varsol or acetone or something like that, something that's going to break down those the chemicals. But mostly these days we're working with water-based, so you're just going to need a bucket with some water, and then just soapy water, just wipe it off. Okay, so I'm sure a few of our viewers are wondering why we're spraying today. The reason why we spray is it's a lot faster. It leaves a nicer finish. So if we were doing brush and roll, cutting and rolling on this would probably take 20 minutes, half an hour to get this wall done. I just sprayed that down in less than 5 minutes. So that's why we tend to spray a lot of times if we can. There are some tricky areas sometimes where you maybe can't spray, but for the most part, if we can spray, we love doing it. It's quicker, it's efficient, and it leaves a nicer finish. So that's why we're doing this today. Quick little tip as well with the guns, if you're ever putting it down, say you're going for a break or anything, this is your spray tip here. They make all different sizes of spray tips depending on what you're spraying. Like if you're spraying like a semi-transparent stain, it's pretty watery. The holes are just different in the size. They're really small holes, but they're just a different size. So if you're spraying something thicker, obviously you need a bigger tip. Right now we're using what they call a 415. The 4 would be your spray pattern, how big it is. So you take that number, you multiply it by 2, and that's in inches. So 4 would be 8 inches for your fan. So that's how wide you're spraying. And then the 15 is 15 thousandths of an inch for your spraying. That's how fine the hole is. So 415 works well with most interior, exterior paints and stains. It's big enough to let the paint go through. You'll notice that if you're using something too small, it will clog up a lot of times. But if you're ever going on break or anything, you want to just turn your spray tip sideways, and that just closes it off so it's not going to gum up at the end or anything like that. So that's what I like to do. And then there's also a locking feature on this handle, which doesn't allow you to spray anything. So if you're up on a ladder or something, or somebody kicks it, there's no possible way that this can spray any paint out. Okay, so just a couple tools and a couple tricks of the trade. This is called a handy masker. You can pick these up at any Sherwin-Williams store. It says right here, handy masker on the plastic. This plastic is made for this handy masker, and the tape goes right onto it. So I'll give you a quick tutorial. It's got a cutting blade on it as well here. It's very sharp. So all you're gonna do is you're just gonna pull it out. It puts the plastic right on it, and then all you have to do is just pull, and there's your piece of plastic. So if you were, let's say you're taping up a window right on the top, and then all you have to do is pull this down, and you can tape all the other sides. And that totally covers up your window, makes it so the paint won't get inside, leaves a nice clean finish, and that's the handy masker. So I always like to keep a wrench around when I'm spraying as well. Just in case something happens, you can take this hose off. There's a filter inside the machine itself, but there's also a filter in this handle. You can take this apart and clean it all out. And then also, if you need to take your guard off, or you need to switch out your spray tip, these Graco guns, they don't allow you to take these out when this is totally tightened. So I can't take this spray tip out right now. Once I loosen this off, then I'm able to slide this out. So always keep a wrench or something on site with you, just to be able to take this apart. We can change out these heads. So this right here is the guard. So this is your guard here. Okay, your tip slides right inside. There's a hole right up here, and your paint will go in this side. Okay, that slides in. Okay, and then it turns, and that totally locks it in there. Okay, again, this is your 415. It always says on all the heads, this is a 415. So again, it's gonna be 8 inches wide for your fan, and 15 thousandths of an inch for your spraying. So I don't know if you can see this here, but it's got a little slit on one side. That's going to be for your fan. This side is where the paint goes in. Another tip that I can show you after I get it back together is if you ever clog up, you're able to turn this right around, and now it will unclog in through the bigger end. So if there's ever a clog up in your spray tip, you can turn it right around, you can spray it, and it will spray it and clean everything out of that. Putting this back together, easy. It just slides on, and then you're just gonna thread it, and there we go. Once you feel the threads getting tighter, that's it. Okay, and you're perfectly tight and ready to go. The spray tips do, because there's so much pressure running through these machines, you'll notice that the spray tip will actually start leaving lines on the outside, or will wear down. Once you start to see either lines, or you see it not spraying totally a really nice pattern, then you want to start replacing these We'll probably replace them every couple months. It's all, like I said, it's depending on use, but for the most part, they should, if you're just doing maybe a couple sprays over a year, they should last you a couple years for sure. So usually you only need 1 coat of primer, but depending on, like I said, how much it soaks in, and if you're noticing a lot of problem areas, as you can see on the wall here, you have your where paint was stuck. You can see how uniform the coat is on there on these boards, but down here you can see how it's really soaking in and you're starting to see the wood leach through. For that, we might just hit that again really quick with the sprayer. You know, even though it's kind of wet or anything like that, you can just give it a quick little hit here, and that's probably all it needs. And then you can do 2 coats of your finished paint or whatever you're throwing on top of it, and you're ready to go.